not realize I had company. Well, a few years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Michael Jackson. He introduced himself to me as the King of Pop, so I told him that I was the original King of Pop. I got it all started. My name is Stephen Collins Foster. You might know of me, but you might not. However, I am sure that you have heard of my music. I wrote Away Down South, Nellie Was a Lady, My Broader Gum, and Camptown Races. Those were just a few of the many songs that I have written, but I am sure that you have heard of one of my most popular songs called Oh Susanna. Now, I could sing it for you, but I should make your experience more delightful. Well, there you have it. During my lifespan from 1826 to 1864, I had the pleasure of impacting popular American folk music forever. I was so popular that I laid the foundation of the music that I wanted to play. My brother William, who was older than me, he negotiated fees for my songs and was basically my manager. During my era, songwriters were not paid well at all. In fact, we were actually very poor. Now, as my brother was my manager, he was able to get a 10% royalty for my songs. Now, a royalty is the percentage negotiated that a songwriter gets from others using his songs. So, in my time, I would be paid 10% of all of the sheet music that was bought. Also, if any of my music or any other writer's music was used in a play or form of entertainment, a royalty would be issued. My brother, he seemed to know a bit about the money that I should have been paid. He tried very hard to stop people who were cheating me. People were constantly taking advantage of me and using my songs without me getting any pay for it. And also, at the time, I never had any copyright laws in place, so my name or title, it was never nationally or even federally protected. I guess I lost a lot of money. Although I was getting ripped off, I still did get paid the 10% of what was purchased. Also in my time, iPods and MP3 players, radios, and these little CDs did not exist, so I had less opportunity to earn money. I'm absolutely sure that if these devices had existed for me, I would have become a millionaire by today's standards. However, I was not rich at all when I died. In fact, I died with only these 28 cents in my pocket. I might have been penniless, but my impact, it was very powerful. Also, I find it very possible that I had something to do with the start of all of these devices because people probably wanted a way to hear my music if they themselves could not play an instrument to my sheet music. So my brother and I, we could indeed say that we created the music industry of what is known today. For instance, many of my songs were becoming famous around the world, such as, Rock Me to Sleep Again, Mother, Listen to the Mockingbird, and Old Folks at Home. You know, Way Down Upon the Swanee River. Well, anyways, at the time, America was still just a few years old. So we were still recovering from the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, with England and many European countries who still felt that we were rebels, jerks, ignorant, and incapable of anything at all. And also at the time, the first American Christmas Carol was written in 1857 by Mr. John Henry Hopkins Jr., known as We Three Kings of Orient Are. When this song became famous around the world, people in other countries started feeling that instead of Americans being ignorant, we might actually appreciate the fine arts. We might earnestly respect regular culture. They now knew that talent could come from America. And I too had something to do with them respecting us because many of my songs were becoming nationally popular and around the world. So my brother and I definitely believe that we initiated American pop music. I'm sure that I myself did revolutionize music because early music was only classical. Beethoven, he thought music should not have words. I feel music should relate to people, and it should say something that would impact their lives. Many of my songs were becoming smash hits and nationally popular. Almost each song that I wrote became well known all over America, and several songs did reach other countries. I was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and yet people in the South would still listen and relate to my music. I find it very impressive that while the time of slavery was going on, Southerners were fond of me and my music. And all across the country before, during, and after the Civil War, my music was well known. With Northerners and Southerners having this huge indifference to each other in this massive conflict, the South still respected me and my music. I feel that they felt close to me, even though I was a Northerner. And although I had never once taken a single step into the South, almost everyone in the country knew of me and loved me. During my era and over my career, my song lyrics changed and developed into different meanings. In my early career of writing, I was quite prejudiced toward blacks. I thought they were uneducated and unimportant, and they couldn't do anything right. So in my songs, I would call them, I can't say it anymore, but I would say something crude about them. For example, in Oh Susanna, I said, electric fluid magnified and killed 500 Negroes. That line, it was based off of a real event, but in real life, only 50 blacks had died. But to me, 50 blacks or 500 blacks dying was no difference. However, as I kept writing, I did discover that they were not at all how I thought of them before, but were human beings who weren't given a chance to fulfill their fullest potentials of learning and working. I completely had a lack of knowledge of them. After falsely accusing them, I began to feel guilty for it. I felt so guilty that I visited a black lady's house one day and ended up writing a kind, good-hearted song about her called Nellie Was a Lady. I was either the first or one of the first white songwriters to visit a black lady's house and write a kind-hearted song about her. And at the time, it was very, very controversial to call a black female slave a lady. In my later career of writing, I was not as harsh at all to anybody, especially blacks. And so, it was not Elvis Presley, he died 30 years ago, I did meet him. It was not John Lennon, Paul McCartney, or even Mr. Michael Jackson himself who revolutionized pop music. It was my brother and myself, Stephen Collins Foster.